everyone, it is Kimber, the Study Abroad Specialist, and welcome to day 11 of the Learn How to Study Abroad in 30 Days series. For today's video, we are going to be talking about essays, study abroad essays. I know that a lot of you are probably hiding under a desk right now in terror, but I promise you that it is not as scary as it sounds. Essays are not as bad as they seem. So we're going to dive into talking more about what a study abroad essay is specifically and how you can ace yours and get into the program of your dreams. Let's start now. So for day 11 of our 30 days to learn how to study abroad, we are going to be talking all about essays and personal statements. So why do you need an essay for study abroad? Now, I just want to point out, similar to most of what we're talking about in this series, it's not a one size fits all. So there may be some programs that do not require it, but you will find that the majority of programs do in some way. And we will talk about the different common two types in 1 second. But for the essay portion of your study abroad program, you have to understand that with whatever they're asking you to write, and we sort of covered this when we were talking about making sure that you're reading the application, the application is sort of encompassing not just who you are academically, but the admissions directors and admissions officials also want to just see who you are overall, your thought process. So when they're giving you a topic to write about, or if they are saying maybe come up with something overall, so it could be where you write about a certain part of your life or you write about a certain experience that you had, they're looking to see how you put things together. And if you are at the undergraduate or university college level, you may or may not have had to do something similar like this to get admission into your current program. So this is sort of a scaled down version of that. Typically, most essays for study abroad are not going to be extremely long. They're not going to be asking you for, 15-page essay or something like that. But they definitely want to just sort of get an idea of who you are as a person. And this is definitely your opportunity to shine and to thrive, no matter what the particular topic is. I would say that 50% to maybe 60% of the time, it's going to be something that they have selected that wants you to sort of focus in on a particular topic. So maybe they want to hear more about why you're interested in studying in the particular place that you want to go, or how did you get to the point where you want to study abroad. There are sometimes then that 40% where it would be more sort of a free flow, where they would say like, tell us more about yourself, something like that, like an open-ended sort of starter interview question. And then you sort of take it wherever you want to go, and they're sort of judging your thought process and how you've laid things out. So overall, that is why you would need an essay to study abroad, similar to what you would have had to done to, apply for your college program, or even if you are in high school and you've applied for some type of special program or internship. So to go through personal statement versus letter of motivation, I know that when you get out there on Google or on any type of search engine like YouTube as well, and you're trying to figure out what is the difference, I know that this is something that confuses people, particularly since depending on where you're coming from. And I know that for me, I know that I have students that I work with from all around the world that essays are called different things, and in the actual application process for study abroad, your particular application may say asking for a personal statement or maybe asking for a letter of motivation, depending on where you are. Now, just looking at the differences here, and sometimes it may just be a bit of a mix of both, so it's not always clearly defined, but you'll sort of get an idea of what they're asking for. So with a personal statement, it primarily focuses on the applicant. So you will find that personal statements tend to be a lot more popular in a lot of American colleges and a lot of Canadian universities as well. There's a lot of different reasons for that, but I will say that culturally, as Americans and as people from, different parts of just the Americas, we definitely have a culture that is much more built on boasting and bragging about ourselves. I know that I experienced this a lot in sort of in a reverse way in the UK, like when I would go into interviews for internships and jobs, it wasn't so much about me. It was more about like talking about my skills. And that was a bit of an adjustment for me because in America, everything that we do is basically about us. That can be a good or a bad thing. But in the personal statement, a lot of what we do here for our college application process is really focused, those topics are focused on ourselves. And so you will find that. So for example, if you are coming to study in the US or in a place like Canada, you may find that, and that may be something that you need to work on. Maybe you come from a country where it's not necessarily encouraged to brag about yourself and talk about yourself in that way, or at least it may not feel natural. That may be something that you struggle with. So definitely consider just thinking that through, that's what a personal statement is. That's why it says personal statement, because it really does focus on the applicant specifically. Also as well, they may ask you kind of on that point to include some personal information, background, more about your bio. So it could be where, like I said, they do something where it's much more open-ended. Tell me about yourself, or tell us about yourself and why you want to study abroad. That is a lot more open-ended than, maybe specifically asking, why do you want to study abroad in this program to be a marine biologist or whatever it's going to be. So you're going to have to be able to structure it well and paint the picture for them without boring them and without rambling, but also being able to show your human side as well. So with a personal statement, you definitely want to hit on a balance of not being too braggy about yourself and not going overboard, but also as well actually answering the questions that they're asking you. Even if it's open-ended, there's still a question in there. And so you need to find a way to sort of tailor that so that you sort of stick to the point, don't have an essay that's too long, and that includes things that they can actually see who you are as a person within the time frame that they would have to read your application, your essay. Also, too, just kind of point out with the word length, it's typically 1,500 to 2,000 words. That's just an average. It could be longer, it could be shorter. It really just depends on the particular program. But when thinking about a personal statement, again, that gives you enough time to be able to structure sort of the beginning, sort of the intro, and then the middle part, which is going to be the bulk of your essay or your personal statement, and then that closer part, which is usually where you're going to be sort of selling yourself and selling the point of why you want to actually do this. Now, with letter of motivation, you will find that this tends to be a lot more popular and used in places like the UK, in places like different parts of Europe, in different parts of Africa, in China. Again, it's a little bit of a different cultural shift. I know for myself, when I was applying for graduate programs in the UK, I had to do letters of motivation. And so with that, it definitely is a shift because you talk about yourself maybe in tiny parts, but it's not going to be the overboard sort of, here I am, here's about me, my background. You're not doing that. It is much more about the actual program. So they're going to want to see, number one, what will you actually bring to this program? So if you're just talking about how, you've gotten great grades so far and, on the weekends you teach, water polo and you do all this stuff, like that is great for you, but that's a lot different than what you're actually going to bring to the actual program that you're trying to apply for. So with a letter of motivation, that's what they'll be looking for is, how will this person actually fit in? And they'll be able to see that from different parts of your application, but as well, what are they actually bringing to the program that's going to be valuable for us? So you want to think about those differences. Personal statement, much more about you, much more leaves more wiggle room for being able to brag and boast and talk about your accomplishment. Letter of motivation, you can do some of that, but it's going to be much more about them. So you just want to keep that in mind. So should only include personal information as it is relevant to the program, which is what I was just saying. You definitely only want to include certain parts of personal information as it is relevant. So if you're talking about something that maybe you have done a special project that will work towards what you want to do with your program, that's relevant. Or maybe you do volunteering on the weekends that is relevant to the program and what you can bring to the program, that is relevant. But it's not going to be so much on the personal side of your hobbies and just your general interests. So keep that in mind. And for a letter of motivation tends to be a little bit quicker. So again, kind of just getting straight to the point, you want to think of it as much more more of a letter style. So 500 to 1,000 words is pretty common for a letter of motivation, whereas with a personal essay, personal statement, that is going to be much more of an essay style, and that's why it tends to be longer. So whether it is a personal statement or letter of motivation, as you can tell, in the application process for study abroad, essays are a big deal. And so I know that for a lot of you out there, this can feel really intimidating. So I wanted to give you something that is going to help ease your fears a little bit. And so that is going to be time with me. So if you go into the description box, you will find a link to my Calendly. And so what you're able to do is you can book a 30-minute free essay coaching session with me. So in these short sessions, what we're doing is we are just going through and I will help you work on your study abroad essay. So maybe you are at the beginning and you're trying to just work on your outline. We can go through that. If you already have a first draft, I would be happy to read through it and then we can meet for 30 minutes and I can just give you feedback. Or if you are in the second draft or almost headed towards submission, we can work through what your next steps are going to look like. Alternatively, if you are not even at that stage yet and you just need some walking through of how to further get through finding a program for study abroad, we can also spend 30 minutes doing that. So it is absolutely free. I love doing this. I absolutely enjoy going through essays. I have been editing essays for people that I know since I was 10 years old. Absolutely. I'm just one of those crazy people that loves writing. It's what I do. It's my jam. And so I know for a lot of students, it is something that is so scary. So I am here to help you. So definitely head on over to my calendar, book a session, and I cannot wait to meet you and to see you and to start connecting with you so that we can get your essay nailed down and that you can make sure that it stands out in the application pool. I look forward to seeing you soon, and I will see you tomorrow for the next module.